and LeBron. They went, yeah, thank you, LeVar. They added 4 guys who shot 40 or better from 3 last year. 4. And Kendrick Nunn was 38. Now, I know they don't have a ton of two-way players, but when you can go toggle between Kent Bazemore and Wayne Ellington. Oh, and let's bring in Malik Monk. He's going to drop 30 tonight. The Lakers are really, really stacked and role players, Chris. And I think that's what you're missing. This is LeBron's best team since 2017 when he had Kyrie Irving and they got smoked by the Golden State Warriors, who just happen to be the greatest team in the modern era. Okay, this LeBron team is much better than the Lakers bubble team. Remember, their 3rd best player on that team was KCP. Okay, KCP went through it that year. We know he had his issues. They're way deeper than that Laker team from 2 years ago. And just one final word, Chris, on the injuries. LeVar eloquently put it, okay? Everybody was hurt in the playoffs last year. Trae Young goes down. Donte DiVincenzo goes down. Like, everybody lost somebody. The Lakers, by the way, added, I think, 7 guys on minimum contracts, and they somehow hit a home run with, like, almost all of them. Kendrick Nunn took less money to play with this stacked Lakers team than go elsewhere and make more money. Chris, you know, I don't want to be too mean. It's early in the show. But to say that the Lakers are not favorites in the West is just, you know, kind of going against conventional wisdom, facts, stats, numbers, Vegas numbers. Chris, come on.
Did you listen to what I said?
Yeah.
I said if you force me to pick a favorite in the West, who did I say it would be?
There's no need to force it.
I said it would be the Lakers.
Basic. Who's the best team in the West? I'm not forcing you to do anything.
The reason I'm saying the field is because so much has to go right. LeBron, y'all, Father Time is undefeated.
No,
Do I have to remind you of that? Everybody's not Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, right?
I don't disagree
LeBron
with what
is in his 19th year.
LeBron was an MVP candidate this year, Chris. He was an MVP candidate early in the season.
I get it. Look, and he got hurt. That's my point. LeBron can still play. He may still be the best player in the world when he's playing. But it isn't a coincidence. I think the injuries that took him out in 2 of the last 3 years would not have taken him out 5, 6 years ago. He would have handled those better. That's where Father Time's tapping him on the shoulder. It's not so much his game. He got bodies into the ankle all the time early in his career, but he handled it. I think that's... Now, I'm not predicting he gets hurt. I'm just saying, when age comes along, injuries are always an issue. And Anthony Davis isn't old. He's just injury prone. Period.
Kyrie Irving is too.
The 1 year he wasn't injured.
Durant. Like, come on.
1 year... No, Kevin Durant's not anything like Anthony Davis. Stop. Kevin Durant has serious injuries that keep him out. Anthony Davis has nagging injuries that bother him all the time, and he misses games here and there. The one time he didn't, they had a 4-month layoff. So, again, I like they are the favorites in the West. This is a crazy roster when you look at it. Although, I think when you say maybe the best ever, LeVar, you're counting Dwight Howard in his prime, Carmelo Anthony in his prime. They're not there. But it is an impressive roster on paper. It's an impressive roster on paper. I'm just saying these guys got to stay healthy. And don't think LeBron and AD can sit out too much in the regular season because they need to play together with Westbrook to develop chemistry. They have to figure out how they're going to play. I mean, they're not just going to step on the floor and mesh like that. This is not a Brooklyn situation where even that was going to be a challenge, but James Harden could run the point the way he did, and those 2 guys around him could shoot lights out. Now, you're talking, the stars don't shoot lights out for the Lakers. And you're talking about Malik Monk coming in dropping 30. Stop it, J-Mac.
Why not?
He averaged 11
He's
points
done that before.
last year. Because he's an 11-point scorer. That's what he is.
Ben McLemore came into a Lakers game last year and hit 6 threes and a half. It happens with LeBron. This is what you do. You stack LeBron's team with role players who can make shots.
They had role players. They had 40% shooters from 3 last year. All right, and they didn't shoot as well. These are not Kyle Korvers.
These are not
Kyle Korvers.
But you can't compare Kuzma and these guys from this past year to the type of mentality and mindset that they're bringing in. You know, with Carmelo, just for an example, he's one of those guys that could have been on the level of LeBron when they came into the NBA. And he's always chased that, and he's probably always been haunted by it. But they're close friends as well. So when I look at guys like Melo or I look at guys like Dwight Howard, we got our best basketball out of Dwight Howard. We didn't hear craziness about things that he was doing or things he was feeling in that championship run with the Lakers. You bring in a Trevor Ariza. He's going to be one of those guys that he's bringing toughness to the table. He's the chippy guy. You bring in Russ, the same type of guy. I think the makeup of this group of guys, when I look at the field, they can get through this relatively unscathed. Because when I look at, okay, I love Utah. I always talk about Utah. What advantage does Utah have? We saw if Donovan goes down and he gets injured, which he does get injured, they're a different team. All right, you look at the Clips. They're already coming in wounded. They're a step behind the Lakers already with Kawhi. When I look at the other teams, Jamal Murray went out. How healthy is he going to be moving forward? They've made some moves, but when I look at the West and I look at the field, is it so crazy to think that, well, having a true offseason of rest, coming out of the bubble and getting another season, you go out of the playoffs relatively early, so now you've gotten a real restful time as LeBron and AD. AD's changed his training staff, so he's doing things that he can do to make himself physically better prepared for the season. I just don't think it's egregious to look at this team and say, they're too old, so I'm going to take the field. And maybe it's by default, Broussard. Maybe I'm looking at the rest of the field and I'm saying no one definitively made a move that says to me, oh, my gosh, like, you got to worry about them. Yeah. You got to worry about this team. There's no one who has done that set themselves apart. So I look at the Lakers as saying they addressed it the way they needed to in order to be as competitive as they can possibly be for one season and one season alone.
Just so people don't think I'm totally pro-Lakers here, there are some weaknesses, right, LeVar? I mean, I'm not really worried about the workload on LeBron. I'm more worried about the team doctor, tending to all these elderly gentlemen on the roster. But in all seriousness, the rim protection could need a third guy. Okay, as you said, Anthony Davis is usually missing 15, 20 games a season. Dwight Howard, he's an ancient guy out there. They need a third rim protector because, look, truth be told, when Carmelo Anthony's on the court, people are blowing by him pretty easily. And Wayne Ellington, not known as a great defender. Malik Monk ranked 115th out of 116 shooting guards in defensive real plus-minus. So a third rim protector would be nice. And then, Chris, one thing you haven't mentioned is Frank Vogel is going to have to manage some egos here because there are a lot of guys on this roster who may not like it if they don't play 10 minutes in a game or 20 minutes. Like, I don't know how Russ is going to handle if he has to take a back seat. Or Carmelo, hey, you're going to sit this one out, buddy. You're going to rest. Is Carmelo going to want to do that for a guy who hasn't been to the Western Conference Finals?
It's an all-star team.
Since
That's
2009.
What you do. It's an all-star team.
LeVar's right.
This is better. Yeah. This is bigger than a big three. I'm sitting a big three guy down. You can't play. This is an all-star cast of players. Those guys are not going to be sitting there complaining if they're sitting out. You know what they're going to be doing? Icing a knee, taking some Advil, making sure that they keeping that knee inflamed. They probably dealing with a touch of arthritis at this point. You know what I mean? Like, so they ain't going to be complaining.
Look,
you're not going to have a problem with that.
I agree. I don't think it's going to be an ego problem. I even think Westbrook, I don't think he's a selfish player at all. I think the challenge for Westbrook is not going to be, I'll do whatever it takes.
Too much.
Because he went to Houston and was ready to do whatever it took playing next to James Harden. The challenge for Russ is going to be that your game is your game. Mm-hmm. He's been playing the same way his whole life. And obviously for his last 12 years or whatever it is of his NBA career, is he going to be able to adjust?
Bruce, let me ask you this.
I mentioned that team when Gary Payton when Gary Payton went to the Lakers.
Let me ask
he
you
had
this, Brew.
trouble adjusting to the triangle offense. He hated it, and he couldn't be himself.
Yeah, but he had to
Those
play.
are real concerns. That's
Okay,
all.
but who was the coach
He
at
what?
that? Who was the coach at that time when Gary Payton
Phil
came?
Jackson.
Okay, that's
Phil
a much
Jackson.
different animal than
So pretty
dealing
good
with
coach.
And by the
what
way,
we
the
have right
Lakers,
now.
I believe, had gone to 3 straight finals, Chris. They were worn down when they added
No, they lost the
Mailman
year before.
And Gary
They
Payton, who
lost the year
who were straight
before
up
to San
fossils, who
Antonio.
were like, I believe, 38, 39 years
But
old.
let me throw this one out at you guys.
Their numbers were big the year
Let
before.
me throw this one out at you. Russell Westbrook goes hard. And we all know it. In fact, he physically will go harder than every single player on this roster that has been assembled, correct? We won't argue that, right? Is there a possibility that the idea of all of this is to do just that? Allow Russ to do Russ, and we fit around Russ because he's got the younger legs. He's got the vibrant approach. He's got the energetic approach. He's been great at what part of the season? The regular season. We got young legs to carry.